Are we live? Are we live? Let us know if we're live because Justin was at Giants Jets practice today and we got to talk about it, right? You thought, oh, you guys training camp streams are over. Your training camp coverage over. You're wrong. You're so wrong. But I can't tell you you're wrong until we are live, and we need to be live to talk about it. So let us know if we're live. We are live, says the people, says Danga, says Boggs. Since a lot of people. Justin, you were at Giants Jets training camp practice. Please like and subscribe to this. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. This is all brought to you by Captain Morgan, our friends.
Right there in the top right.
It's not the biggest logo, but it is a logo, and it says Captain Morgan. Justin, overall thoughts on Giants Jets training camp joint practice.
Yeah, overall thoughts as I really watched a lot of the offense today, and it's a shame because I felt like a hole being burnt in the back of my skull, being like just hearing the Jets fans roar time and time again as they did some good things against the Giants defense. And we're going to be talking to Zach Rosenblatt on the podcast if you really want to hear some, I guess, more in-depth thoughts on the Jets offense versus Giants defense. But overall thoughts on the practice, Bobby, this was the exact opposite to the Detroit Lions, where we're walking away from that practice being like, you want to know what? The Giants allowed some big plays. The Giants had some good offense, some good positive plays, and there's some things to clean up. But you want to know what they were? They were physical, and they met the energy that the Detroit Lions brought. They did not meet the energy that the New York Jets brought today. And you know what? I'm kind of maybe noticing a little bit of a trend, Bobby, as we've gone to Commanders Jets practice. We've gone to Giants Lions practice. We went to Eagles Patriots joint practice. I am noticing that the visiting team, usually there is a little bit of an energy lull. Like the home team does have a pretty big advantage for those joint practices. But man, the Jets kind of did smack the Giants in the mouth a little bit. The offense was not very explosive, versus when the Lions were in town. The Giants were slinging it across the yard, slinging it downfield. The Jets defense was physical. Quinnen Williams was controlling stuff up front. I will say the day would have been better if guys caught more footballs. There was a pretty sloppy day catching the football from guys like Theo Johnson and Malik Neighbors. But overall, the Jets brought it. The Jets brought the energy. Their offense looked good, got some big plays. And the Giants offense, while they were efficient and methodical, they were not explosive, Bobby Skinner. You're muted.
I wasn't talking, so I was muted on purpose. So let's talk about, because I have like a list of things I want to hit on, overall thoughts. Evan Neal, how much you get to pay attention to him. I think that's a big one because supposedly it's like the first time he's actually practiced and he gets to go against the Jets. I have a viral tweet going up against Eric Watts, and I'm just like, Eric Watts, best Jets pass rusher. Not viral, as people are noticing it. So when you say methodical, because there was different tweets that came out from different reporters, where it's like, oh, really methodical, nice, got it done, held their own. There's others who are like, would have been a couple of sacks, didn't create any explosive plays. Like, kind of walk us through the offensive, the first team offense's practice, like in order.
Yeah, I didn't pay attention to the 7-on-7. When they were doing 7-on-7, I was kind of glancing over and I was just looking at
useless.
I was looking at O-line, D-line 1v1s. Which the first team didn't get a chance to go up again. They didn't really go up against each other that much. And then also they had weird guys going up against first stringers too. They didn't really time that up correctly. Why are the Giants first stringers not going up against the Jets first stringers? Anyway, they started off with red zone with like 2 red zone periods. And while the Giants ran a lot of plays inside the Jets red zone, it wasn't like, all right, we're starting on the 20-yard line, 3 plays, boom, Giants touchdown. They ran like 6 plays, but they were treating it like first down, second down, third down. It wasn't like, all right, let's redo this, let's reset. So that first red zone period, I thought that they looked methodical, exactly that, where it wasn't really anything downfield. They weren't really stretching things. There were some positive running plays, and then there were some negative running plays where Quinnen Williams was just controlling shit up the middle. But I thought Tyrone Tracy looked pretty solid. It was, he's back from the dead. He's alive. And I thought that he looked pretty decent today. He was getting some first team reps. I'm pretty sure all 3 running backs were kind of going in and out, but Tracy and Singletary kind of led the most, I think, with the first team. But you had Wan'Dale over the middle, Theo Johnson, Malik Neighbors getting involved kind of early. and then much later in practice too. So I mean exactly that. Like in the red zone, they were methodically moving and they were pretty efficient. Where after 6 plays, I think Daniel Jones takes like almost like a read option, or at least it was a play action rollout, and he just runs the ball in the end zone. He has the option to throw it, or he has the option to run into the end zone. He takes it in for a touchdown, and it would have been a legit touchdown too. So they ran some red zone stuff, and then they widen the field as practice goes on, and then that's where like, all right, let's maybe see them stretch the field there, and they really didn't. I would say the best connection that DJ had all day was a Theo Johnson catch on the left sideline where he was running across the field. DJ hits him. Theo Johnson gets 2 feet down, and that's a catch, and it's a first down. I believe it was on a second or a third down. So that was the best completion that they had. But there really was only 2, maybe 3 throws that were really past the sticks and stuff that you would consider deep. And I don't really know if I don't even think they had a completion of 20+ yards today.
What happened on the Malik Neighbors deep play? Because someone said he dropped it, others said he underthrew it. What happened there?
Malik Neighbors needs to catch it. He had 2 hands on the ball. He had to turn it. He had to turn around for it. But I'm not calling that a bad Daniel Jones throw. It was behind him.
Like did anyone get in the catch space, or did he just flat out dropped it?
He just dropped it.
Okay.
Yeah, you had a defender that was there, but you didn't have a defender that got his hand in there. The ball was in a spot where the defender couldn't get it, and Malik Neighbors just needs to catch it. And I think he acknowledged that after practice too. I don't know if he had another drop, but that's a big drop where, in that team period where you had the Jets that just went down and scored a touchdown when they all came together on one field, and that's where I was able to watch the Giants defense finally towards the end of practice. You had the Jets defense, you had the Jets offense that just, went down the Giants' throats, and then you also had the Giants offense, the first string offense, go 4 and out. And that would have been at least put them on the 1 yard line, or it would have been a touchdown, and Neighbors just dropped it.
Yeah. And obviously practice, but like drops like that can be the difference between 0 points and 3 points.
And it was, it's almost
the
like
Jets'
the
defense
vibes.
is really freaking good. I kind of expected this to happen. The other stuff on the other side we'll talk about a little more. That Jets defense is nuts, man. Like we just did our team profile and projection on them, and when you watch them, it's just like they just close in on any type of window you think you have. They just close in and close out on it. But I want to talk about the pass rush. You said Quentin Williams was dominating. I don't know which interior guy that was. Runyon didn't practice, but I would expect him to dominate any of our interior guys, right? I think he's, you can argue him or Dex is the second best.
Stinnie wasn't fun in 1v1s.
Which is to be expected. How did the corners, the edges of the offensive line, Thomas and Jermaine Elmanor, look?
I mean, apparently Thomas, there was 2 sacks that I think the first team would have had against the Giants. I didn't necessarily see where it came from, but did see some tweets about like maybe Andrew Thomas got beat around the corner. So it was tough to see where those sacks kind of came from, but I did get a chance to see Carmen Bricillo and the Giants offensive line. They had to be 10 feet in front of me because I didn't go in the stands. I was on the Giants field during like individuals and during the 1v1s, and Carmen Bricillo's talking, yapping, nonstop.
Yeah, talk about that, because I saw him. Because I was watching the Jets live they do for the first 30 minutes.
Yeah,
and it looked like he was like, I don't know if he was heated or what, but you could tell he was talking.
He was. I couldn't tell if he was in individual drills. I don't know if you're really ever chewing anybody out, but really complimentary Jermaine Elmanor. Every single rep, man. Every single rep. Good job, Maine. That's how you do it, Maine. That's how you do it, Maine. So they were working together as 5 offensive linemen. We had Carm that was mainly responsible for calling out the cadence. If there was a center, they were just doing pad work. You had 2 offensive linemen going at one time. If there's a center, Carmen Bricillo's the one that they get a football. He puts his hands under their ass. They snap the football to him, and they're working 1v1 with the pad. But then once they break out from interior offensive linemen to offensive tackles, Carmen Bricillo was working with the tackles, working with Azudu, Neal, Thomas, Elmanor, and some other guys too on working with stunts and picking up stunts and twists. So he's talking all the time. You know, kind of tough to hear what they're saying with music and everything, but it's just active.
Damn
Seeing
music.
seeing that he's working with guys' hands. He was really working with the Zudo on his hands. So it was cool to see how active Carmen Brasilia was with those guys. And it was because Bobby, usually the offensive line on during Giants practice, when we're sitting there,
Yeah,
they're usually on the opposite side of the field, and you really can't see it. But they're going with the pace. They're going with the tempo where it's meant to be fast. It's meant to be up tempo and upbeat. So there's constant coaching going on, but also there's constant reps happening too. So it was cool to see kind of that happen in person. But in terms of team drills, I'm trying to see where Malik Neighbors is lining up, and where did we get Malik Neighbors versus Sauce? No, we didn't get that all that much. Trying to watch a couple different things. It was tough to see where the sacks came from, but yeah, it was cool to see them kind of operate in that team.
Well, you said there was 2 sacks. Did it feel like there was constant pressure from the corners?
No, but also you had Daniel Jones, a relatively low average depth of target, where they were working a lot of screens. They did a lot of play action again today, Bobby. Like this team is going to run a lot of play action, and I hope it doesn't get to a point. Remember in 2022 where we were like, let's
like 55%, and teams were just the Commanders game. I still have stats somewhere on that where it was like 2nd and 12 and they're running under. It's like no one's falling for this shit. Like the linebackers are not even playing the run keys type of stuff.
Yeah, it's they're spamming it. They're spamming it a little bit. So in between play action, I think that gives the offensive line a little bit more time where the defense has to respect the fact that the run could be coming, that a run could be coming, right? So it was not overbearing. The Jets pass rush certainly was not.
Well, that's good, because I kind of expected that not to be big, because that's just the Jets secondary is nuts. But the worry mine was like, okay, when they face a good pass rush like the Jets, is this offensive line going to be like getting worked, right? Is Jermaine Elamor going to be losing consistently versus a guy like, Jermaine Johnson or Will McDonald? I know Reddick's not there. And then I expect Quinn Williams just to win his matchup, 6 times out of 10. So since we're talking offensive line, I don't know how much you were able to notice it in team drills, but in one-on-ones, how did Evan Neal look overall? Because we didn't see any of him in the other ones.
I didn't get to see it.
Okay.
I didn't get to see it.
He did have a good one-on-one versus Eric Watts, the UDFA out of UConn, who, hey, people told us, I was like, who's a guy to watch for that? Like that the regular fan would not know. They did say Eric Watts, so it was good to see Evan Neal win a rep, and it looked really good. So that was nice.
DeVito had some nice throws.
Well, let's go back to DJ, because you said like it was low. Like, was it like smart, good short stuff, or was it like if you were evaluating Daniel Jones off of one practice, what would your evaluation be?
Well, there was no mistakes. There was no glare. The evaluation is that the Jets secondary is just really good and didn't allow deep stuff to really happen. And I think if that Malik Neighbors, I think Connor Hughes charted him as like 12 for 18 today. If he has a completion to Malik Neighbors for a touchdown, and then also Theo Johnson dropped a ball over the middle of the field, which really, if there was one time where I yelled Theo, because it was this great play. You see it as the ball snapped. You see that he is 1v1. You see that he's running across the field and he's open, and that he has a ton of yak after he catches this ball, or it maybe could be a touchdown, or at least it's a big play, and Theo Johnson just drops it. So that's why it wasn't. I'm not walking away from this practice saying DJ had a sloppy practice. I'm walking away. I don't think DJ did have a sloppy practice. I'm walking away saying that the rest of the Giants had a sloppy practice.
Okay. T. Patrick, sorry, wrong one. J. Fed says it's practice, fellas. Thank you for that, J. Feds.
Thank you.
It's not in the fucking title. I'm glad they're streaming again. There's other things I want to. So when they do, was it like the Commanders practice where at the end they like bring everybody together?
Yes, and that
what
was
happened
the
on the Bobby Okereke interception. Andrew Phillips, like
they called holding.
So they called holding on Drew Phillips, which is one of my worries of Drew Phillips. But tell me how that, because I don't give a shit about that. I want to hear about how did Okereke intercept Aaron Rodgers, because that excites me a lot more than the result of
It was a tip ball at the line of
practice
scrimmage.
play. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Well,
tip ball at the line of scrimmage.
Makes me feel less good. I thought it was just like a crazy Okereke
No,
play,
ball was tipped at the line, ball's high in the air, Bobby Okereke comes down with it, and that would have saved the Giants' drive because they were driving down the field and that was near the red zone. And it would have been, Giants offense 0 and Jets offense 0 if they counted that interception. What was really interesting, Bobby, is Trey Hawkins was out there with Deonte Banks and Drew Phillips in the slot.
And McLeod was out there early and getting beat early.
And he was getting beat. Yep.
Before we talk about that, this is a great troll from Lucas Eureka. He's trying to get us to said the season didn't start yet. I know that you're messing with me, Lucas. So that was my biggest worry going into this because the Lions joint practices, they don't have an outside threat like that that I respect, at least. Obviously you have Amon-Ra St. Brown in the slot, but Jameson Williams beating Cordell Flott, you're okay. But I wanted to see Deonte Banks really win versus the Lions, and I thought he did. Today, it seems like he got picked on a lot, and that to me is a lot more worrisome than Nick McLeod and Trey Hawkins and Drew Phillips getting picked on.
Well, let me tell you, Deonte Banks allowed a catch to Xavier Gipson, and I'll tell you the good of Deonte Banks in one play that I saw where it was against Garrett Wilson, and then the bad of Deonte Banks, where Xavier Gipson, it's like a button hook. It's basically a curl route. I don't know if you call it a hitch or it's in the middle of the field, but I call it a button hook, right? Where you have Xavier Gipson coming out of his break, he turns his head and the ball is there. And Deonte Banks is there, but guess what? He's there, but can't make a play on the football. So that's a catchable ball for Xavier Gipson. It's a really good throw by Rodgers, and it's a completion. And it's a bad Deonte Banks play, even though he's in the right spot. So the play where you had Rodgers going deep to Garrett Wilson, again, this is all in that big team period at the end of practice, where you had Garrett Wilson, one of the first plays that they run is Garrett Wilson going 40, 50 yards down the field, Rodgers throwing it up, the ball's out of bounds, Garrett Wilson catches it, but Deonte Banks does a really good job of kind of driving Garrett Wilson out of bounds enough to go get the ball where he can't get 2 feet down. But still another play where Deonte Banks doesn't make a play in the football, but it was out of bounds. Deonte Banks was in a really, really good spot. So that's a good Deonte Banks play. And Bobby, it was just really cool to see. Let's just talk Jets here for a second. It was really cool to see Aaron Rodgers up close and be so close to Aaron Rodgers operate an offense where you can see him just process everything in front of him. He goes from one read to the next like it's nothing. Like he understands everything like the back of his hand. There's no hesitation. He can get the ball out of his hands so quick, and it's really tough to defend. And when you have, same talking point with Deonte Banks, when you have a good quarterback that can get the ball out of his hands when a wide receiver gets out of their breaks, where even if Deonte Banks is in a good spot and if he's in phase, if he can't make a play on the football, Deonte Banks is going to have a rough year. And I think you kind of got that same experience again today with Deonte Banks.
Yeah, that was actually my biggest worry going into these was the Deonte Banks. Like that's what, not even worry, just what I wanted to see. It's like, okay, how does Deonte Banks hold up versus these cats? But it also felt like they weren't having him follow Garrett Wilson because you saw a lot of clips of Nick McLeod getting destroyed by Garrett Wilson, which so to do the good cop on that is you can't hit the quarterback, right? And this defense we know is going to be predicated on his pass rush. And you saw clips of Brian Burns doing well.
Mm-hmm.
The negative of that is like if teams can protect up even halfway decent, like this is just a secondary that I feel like it's just going to get picked on. And there
were even some Garrett Wilson plays where some reporters had a hard time telling who was in coverage because they were that wide open.
Yeah, and I saw there was a page I was following. In fact, I should give it a shout out because they were only posting positive Jets clips, but I don't blame them. But they were out there showing a lot of clips from this. Grand Central Fantasy on Twitter had a bunch of clips if you guys want to go check those out. But yeah, it's just felt like they were getting abused. And then you don't have Cordell Flott out there, which is like probably helped solidify himself as the starter, even though probably the same thing would be happening to him. It just feels like it's going to be a bad secondary outside of like Banks and hopefully Newman. And did Newman pop off at all? Like, I know it's hard to see safeties at all.
I didn't see him pop off, but I'll tell you what, he's an active talker. And
I like that because you know what? I got pissed off. I saw a clip where they threw a touchdown to Breece Hall, and Breece Hall goes and taps Isaiah Simmons on the ankles, like making sure his ankles aren't broke, kind of taunt. And the whole team just sat around and fucking took it. That shit pissed me off. Like, and the whole Sauce Gardner waving stuff like that. Like, that's what pisses me off about the energy thing.
Yeah,
is like you let them talk shit to you. Huh?
I should have maybe tried to snap a quick video of this, but Tyrod Taylor had a beautiful
everyone was talking about that.
And guess what? Tyrod Taylor turned to the Giants sideline and he had some shit to say. You know, good for Tyrod. Good for Tyrod. You know, probably you should have brought me back. You didn't prioritize me enough. Blah 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 blah. So there was a lot of that happening, and Tyler Nubin, after I think there maybe was some miscommunication with Trey Hawkins on the outside. Tyler Nubin's talking to him, and I don't know if Trey Hawkins had anything to say anything back to Tyler Nubin, but pretty crazy to see a second-year player kind of saying what he's got to say to Trey Hawkins on the outside about some sort of communication in the secondary, and they were in the huddle. So I'm so
glad that Nubin's just a starter there now. I'm so glad that we're not playing that game anymore.
Yep.
So yeah, I wish they would have brought freaking more energy, and I don't think we're going to see the starters on Saturday either.
No.
So I mean, what else did I have? I mean, the defense overall. Nubin. I like Nubin. I'm excited for Nubin. I think he's going to get his hands on the football this year. So DJ looked, decent enough for what he was dealing with.
Let me talk about Captain Morgan as you maybe if you want to collect.
I have a question I want to throw out to the chat, by the way, too, and the chat can ask us a question as well.
Yes. Well, why don't you ask the question to the chat, and then I'll read the Captain Morgan.
Well, question to you as well.
Got it. This live stream, our last training camp live stream, is brought to you by Captain Morgan, the official spiced rum sponsor of the NFL. Captain Morgan has been with us through thick and thin this entire summer. We can't thank them enough, and they're going to be with us throughout this entire season too. So get ready, because when life gets bland, try Captain Morgan Original Spiced Rum. Delicious, crisp, perfect for game day with friends. Spice it up. Visit CaptainMorgan.com to find Captain near you. Please drink responsibly. Captain Morgan Original Spice Rum. 35% alcohol by volume. Captain Morgan Rum Company in New York, New York. Bobby Skinner, you'll be glad you did. And everybody else, you'll be glad you did too, because Captain Morgan is cool.
My question, someone mentioned a year of Asante. Was that like actually real?
It seemed like it was a legit return, yeah.
Michael Gabriel, revenge. I love that. So the Giants may not play their starters on Saturday. Most likely aren't going to play their starters on Saturday. The Daytona NASCAR race is on Saturday.
What's your point?
What would you think about recording the podcast Sunday night?
Think we should just live stream it?
I don't fucking know. We're gonna do it regular, but I'm so mad that they freaking put the Giants preseason game on a Saturday.
Yeah. I mean, I think we could ideally live stream the episode,
but then I wouldn't be able to watch the game. Like when
Sunday night.
I don't know. Being a bad employee, because I really want to go to a freaking race. Not gonna happen. Bam. Let me know what the chat thinks about that. I'm gonna go to the Xfinity race Friday night. I'm like hoping that it gets rained out to Sunday and I can go watch it in the freaking humidity.
A lot of people like my shirt.
Yeah. Oh yeah. How many Giants fans were there? Like
a good
how many
amount.
Giants fans you get to talk to?
A good amount. There was some Giants fans there that are pretty cool to see. Some Giants fans that started to hear my voice, and then it's like, oh, that's you. Yeah, that's me. It was cool. There were mostly Jets fans there, but Giants fans certainly made their way in there. Yeah, word.
Let's see what else do we got. Hit us with some chat.
Hit us with some chat.
Have the Panthers has there been rumors that the Panthers are willing to move off of JC Horn?
Yeah, I don't know where this is all coming from.
Like, I've seen that a lot, and I did a stream like a couple months ago of like possible trade ideas, and so basically I looked at like the guys that didn't have their fifth year option picked up or did, and JC Horn was like, maybe like you could do like a 4th and a 6th pick swap type thing for him, but it's just too injured. He's too injured just to do a straight up trade for like a 3rd or 4th round pick. Unfortunately, even though I freaking love JC Horn. Why didn't you have a hot dog?
Hot dogs there aren't good.
Doesn't matter. You had one in Massachusetts was bad.
Oh, I thought you got me one in Jets camp. Didn't you get me one that day?
No, that was in Massachusetts.
Oh, so I unharshly judged the Jets hot dogs.
That's why?
Knowing. I got confused. I thought the hot dog I had in Massachusetts, I thought I had it in Jersey. Because I'm just a dumb idiot.
That's bullshit. That was a horrible hot dog, and they didn't have like any condiments either.
Yeah.
Let's see. Surprise cut.
DeVito had I haven't described the
talk about DeVito, king of New Jersey.
King of New Jersey.
Did you see that his agent has like his own day in Salem? Like, what does he do? Like, he's only an agent for like Tommy DeVito and then like a safety on the Lions. Like, he might actually be in the mafia.
I think he represents his father as well. I did see the family of Tommy DeVito today. They were nice. They were nice.
Did you talk to them?
Yeah, a little bit.
What was that conversation like? You don't have to go too into detail.
His father was telling me a little bit about, what Tommy's doing, and how there's a little bit more confidence for the team this year, and he wants him to get more opportunities and stuff like that. The mother just went like this to me. So I think she very much knows. She acted like she knows who I was. That I don't think she's just doing this to random strangers.
It would be funny. It would be better if she was.
Maybe she does. Well,
I should have nutted up and asked her if she was the lady from the sauce commercial.
Yeah. Tommy DeVito apparently. I'll reveal this. Tommy DeVito apparently got an A+ from the from his previous game against the how they give grades.
Yeah.
In the building. Apparently, got an A+.
Okay, how about that, Tommy DeVito?
But he did seriously have the best throw of the day, and I'm not just saying this as like, ooh. It was a legit, like, really good throw where he like threaded a needle. It looked like Bellinger was running a stick and nod, but don't hold me to it that he was running a stick and nod. It was in a red zone period, and it was right in front of me. And dude, Bellinger's coming out of his break. DeVito starts to throw the football, throws it with anticipation, leads Bellinger into the end zone, put some zip on that ball. And it was a Daniel Bellinger touchdown with the second team. So that was the best throw of the day overall. And then, like I said, I think the best play for the first team offense was that Theo Johnson catch on the sideline. So Tommy DeVito, decent practice.
Cool. How about that? All right. So we are going to end this. Thank you, Justin, for going to Jets practice today.
Yeah.
Next podcast is going to be interview heavy. So we're going to, I think we'll do a little bit of recap of this again with Zach Rosenblatt, where he focused on the Jets offense. We're also going to have Patricia Train on, who was at the practice. And then I'm sure we'll be hitting on some other things. So we'll see you then. Until then, thank you, Captain Morgan, for all the camp streams. Thank you very much, Captain Morgan.
And thank you to everybody for also tuning in too.
Oh yeah. The camp streams are my favorite. I had FOMO not being there today.
And everybody that came up and said hi to us, like, anytime that we have 800 people watching right now, a very underwhelming Giants practice. So thank you. But I feel like anytime that we do something that we get to see other people, it's like my favorite thing that I do in this job. And I appreciate everybody very, very much. Very, very much.
Yeah, we appreciate you guys a lot. So we will we'll see you when we see you. Until then, let's go Big Blue.